You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast by Charisse Bisram. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that has shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Like, share, follow, subscribe, and listen out for more. Stay tuned. Hey, thank you for joining me back. I'm really excited today to have my first guest, which is my mentor, Rebecca Barr. Now, I came across Rebecca really randomly. Another friend of mine that's a mentor, I kind of spoke to her and said, like, I want to go into business. I don't know how to do it, rah, rah, rah. We had a really beautiful chat. And she just said to me, you know what, you need to find people that align with what it is that you want. So I literally just searched in Instagram and like online, and Rebecca came up, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to book a call. I booked a call with her January the 2nd, and straight away there was so many connections to our story, what it is that we want to achieve in the world. You know, like we're both here. We feel like our goal in life is to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds like corny or cringy or whatever it is, but it's so deeply there. Do you know what I mean? With both of us, that real core message of wanting to make the world a better place. And like Rebecca does loads of amazing things like money mindset. She's like a 7-figure business owner. She said to me last year that she had 27 streams of income. Like, this woman is a powerhouse, right? She has 5 children and she does it all. And I'm in awe of her. I think, wow, how do you do all of that stuff? And to learn from her has been just an absolute blessing. And it's only been just the start for me. So I'm really excited to see where my journey goes from learning from her. But I thought I'd have her on because I feel like whoever's listening, this could really just add some insight into your life. And actually, if you feel like you want a business mentor or anything like that, you can connect to Rebecca, or hopefully this podcast, again, just gives you the permission to shine because you deserve to. Okay, amazing. So I'm so excited to have on my mentor, Rebecca Barr. I think she's an incredible woman. I've actually only been working with Rebecca for a really short amount of time, but I think instantly our stories kind of had a lot of resemblance, or was a connection there, wasn't there, straight away. And that's what really called me to Rebecca. And I think the way that you do business and all these things are something I've never seen before, but I was instantly impressed with and thought, do you know what, if this woman can juggle 5 kids, multiple businesses, and have time for herself, then that's a person that I need to learn from. So yes, welcome, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And it's so interesting you say about obviously why you were drawn to me. I think coaching for me is the double blessing, because you've also inspired me and kind of a new chapter, new season in my business as well, in the way that we've connected with all the spiritual aspects, which has been really good as well.
Oh, I love that. That is, I think that's the alignment, isn't it, with people, that everyone's a mirror, isn't it? And I love that. And so for people that don't know you, Rebecca, please give an introduction about what you do, who you are, and then we'll dive a bit deeper after that.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Rebecca Barr, aka the Femalepreneur Coach. I am a money mindset and business growth strategist for women exclusively in business. Prior to that, I'm an award-winning entrepreneur. I'm a mama to 5 kids, chair of the PTA. I'm kind of the queen of leverage and doing it all. So that's kind of like my main top line things. But ultimately, I'm just a woman that is essentially trying to make the world a better place. And this is how I found my way of doing it.
And I love that. And I think that was one of the first things that you said to me about making the world a better place. And then I said to you that that's been something that has come to me in my life, that I feel like I'm making myself a better person so I can make the world a better place. And that was, again, another alignment where I was like, yeah, this woman is the one for me. I definitely need to be involved. And, you know, so much has opened for me since working with you, even this short amount of time. So it's lovely. And it just shows that that's the true alignment. So Rebecca, you have had a very turbulent start, as I have had, and I feel like that was another reason, obviously, why we connected. But I think it's really important as well that you share your story, because I think it just gives the depth to everything you do. You know, the reason you're doing what you're doing isn't just because of the surface level; it's because you've been through so much and you have a real deep why. You know, and I think it's really beautiful. And I'd love to hear your story, and obviously throughout, if we ever need to pick apart anything or whatever, we can go through it. But yeah, please tell us your story.
Oh, thank you. And I think, like you say, I think what we've connected on most is that deeper connection for meaning in the trauma and things that we've experienced. It's trying to find that sense of, I didn't go through all this to only like come this far in life, and I've always held on to that. So my childhood, yes, was very chaotic, and I think some people will relate to elements of it. Some of it is just like next level, because I've actually been doing a little bit of work with like press and PR now, obviously to increase my visibility, because for a long time I was hidden and almost, you know, not wanting to disclose my story. But I think part of that journey is starting to own it. And when I was actually telling them, like, and then this happened, and then this happened, they were like, what? How can this even be true? So essentially taking it right back. So when I was like 4, my family are in the services. We are like, I'm like a Navy brat, so we traveled around. My dad sadly passed away when he was out on tour, which left me and my mum essentially, and my older sister at the time, homeless, because obviously once you're not in the Navy anymore, then you have to leave the barracks and go, which I remember from a young age, like my mum just did not bounce back from very well. I don't think she had the mental resilience, so she was continually in a, you know, just in a really dark place for all of my childhood. You know, I think she had her own story, and that's the thing that I accept as a woman now. It's for me to kind of, you know, end those toxic family cycles with me and not pass that on to my children, which I think was really valuable. She moved into kind of like a really, I would say, like very abusive relationship, financially, emotionally, all of the things that then obviously translated down to me and my sister that suffered abuse in kind of all different ways. We had a very chaotic, you know, childhood, always moving around, loads of money, no money, you know, like it was just really bizarre. There was no sense of like safety or routine or comfort, which essentially kind of culminated when my stepdad left. My mum actually lost our home. It was repossessed. So we went into a hostel when I was in high school. And then I kind of continued bouncing around from family members after that point. So I'd already spent a lot of time away from my mum because, you know, she wasn't very resilient, and she kind of needed that break from me and my sister, and I had 2 younger siblings at that time. So it wasn't like a big trauma to leave her, because I didn't really see her like my mum anyway. Like the dynamics were more like I was her carer. So it was actually a relief to kind of, you know, feel like I was going somewhere and able to be a kid. But then what I realized, moving, you know, bouncing around for family members, you end up like the perpetual guest in other people's homes, and it's never going to be your home, you know. So I think that on reflection was quite difficult as a child. You know, there'd be Christmas, and like you'd be like, I'd be with my cousins, and they'd have like this massive pile of presents, and you'd get like the token selection box, and it'd be like we, you know, like, oh, it's awkward, you know, she's not our kid, so we can't, and we don't know how long you're going to be here, so we can't really spend loads of money. So I think I missed out on a lot. Like I never had birthday parties, I never had Christmases, never had holidays, never really did anything as a kid, never had that sense of safety, never got to really like explore my personality. I became a very and continually went into households that weren't always the best households either, also very toxic, also very dysfunctional. And I think it meant that I became, which I now see as a blessing, almost like a chameleon. I had no sense of self, because obviously, like I look at my kids now and I actually see it a blessing that the big extrovert personalities that they have, because it's a testament to the fact that they feel safe enough to kind of do that, have a hissy fit, and, you know, slam doors and do things and be crazy. Whereas I was always like, can I help you? Do you need anything? Like I was almost like the unpaid help in the house. So I became a very watered down version of myself. And that definitely translated into relationships as I got older. So I attracted lots of emotionally unavailable men that I thought I could help and fix, and, you know, sort of saw as a project. So Yeah, so and then obviously those cycles continued with money as I got older. So extreme highs, extreme lows, working 3 jobs, like right up until when I was 6 months pregnant. I had infertility battles with my children. Basically all the things. Nothing's been easy, but that's okay. So it's all for a reason. It's good.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Because I think, yeah, I feel like people that would see your content and look you up wouldn't know the depth of all of that stuff. And you know what I noticed about how you tell your story is how I tell mine. It's very like, this is what I've been through, but we don't do the emotional part, you know, like we don't actually stop and be like, that was really difficult and I felt like this. So I kind of just want to ask you, when was you aware that you were traumatized? Because for me, I didn't know that I had had the trauma in my life
Yeah.
until I got to, well, until in the pandemic and I started to do the work. So for as far as I was aware, this was just a normal-ish thing that you just kind of got through, you know, like you just got through it all. And I mean, I know you now as being very optimistic, but was that always the case? Like, did you always make the best out of the situation? I guess, yeah. When did you become aware that actually what you went through in your life wasn't normal?
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that I didn't see anything wrong in that. I actually remember laughing with a cousin recently about an aunt, obviously not betraying any confidences, but like she used to hit us with a slipper. And I'd be like, we used to just laugh. Like as kids, it's such a different generation. I'm like, can you imagine now if I hit my kids with a slipper? Like I don't think I'd have for very long. But that like just it was just a different world, a really school of hard knocks, like that generation, it just was, you know, like the things that went on. But I think for me it was more when I had kids, definitely like looking at my kids and thinking, God, I cannot be without them. Like if anything, it's probably really codependent and toxic, but I'm toxic. I'm so needy with my kids. Like I literally watch them when they sleep, I sniff their hair, and I'm like, how did my mum, like literally I don't have one memory of my mum ever giving me a kiss or a hug, and I know that that's because of her own trauma that she couldn't, you know, have that. But I think it was things like that where I was like, oh okay, so this is what love feels like, this is what unconditional love feels like. And that's probably why I've got so many kids. I'm not opposed to that, but I think it was things like that. It was like, you know, getting older, sharing stories, because like I say, for a lot of the time I hid this. I just wanted to be liked. I wanted to be accepted in every group. I never wanted to dwell on the bad stuff. And when I'd have friends who'd come from this like 2.4 family, obviously I wasn't then going to talk about this one time when, you know, I suffered abuse, like I just want to be around the like good vibes and the party. So I never kind of dwelled on it, but I definitely think, yeah, now I've got older, I'm realizing, and more so when I leaned into the coaching as well. And I saw like, wow, yeah, this, as much as I've always been like, I'm just super resilient and, you know, move forward. Actually, this is trauma. Like this actually needs some healing and some work. It wasn't okay. And but yeah, so that I'd say it's probably when I had kids and got a little bit older that I realized.
Yeah, amazing. I feel like that really is the moments, isn't it? It's like the shifts where, I mean, for you, obviously that's the exchange of love where you could see it clearly that where the love wasn't given to you and now you're able to give it so purely. And I do think that, you know, you said in there as well about being the cycle breaker, the trauma breaker. I definitely really relate to that. Obviously, I've not had my own kids yet, but I know that that's really something that I knew I needed to work on because I didn't want to pass this down
Yeah.
more further generations, because I can see very quite clearly in my lineage where this pattern has repeated so many times in different ways. So that's so beautiful and like amazing that you are in that position, and you know
But I
how
would
you
say that
speak.
the work doesn't end. That's the thing. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
I have to catch myself in the moment now. So obviously, like trigger warning, one of the things that I went through was obviously like child abuse. So for me now having children, there's one of my daughters is very tactile. Like she is just, I imagine what I would have been like if the world hadn't kicked me around, like just so full of joy, so full of love, so full of life, like very tactile. It's always like hugs, kisses. And because I never had that, and because I still got that trauma response to some of the things that I experienced, it's like I almost have to like take it, because I'm like, and that's how it feels. It's like my natural instinct is to move away and to, you know, kind of be like, okay, that's enough. Like, that's okay. Like, not in a bad way, not meaning to be in a bad way, but I have to catch myself in the moment and be like, no, it's okay. It's safe. And if I do make this a thing, this is now going to be a thing for her. So I think it's that continued commitment to holding up the mirror to myself at all times, that I can love her to death. But if actually I, unconsciously pass something on by her making her feel bad or wrong because she's so affectionate. Like that's me not doing my job. So yeah, I don't think the work ever really ends. It will just be different things.
Yeah, 100%. I speak about that all the time as well. That's such an important part of that, and a really interesting a way of just showing how important self-awareness is. Like when we're aware of our triggers, we can then address them. And I think that's where all the power is, isn't it? Because if you're blissfully unaware and then you're realizing, like, maybe 5 years later that your daughter's now got a complex about why you never hugged her, then
Yeah,
you've missed that boat, right? So at least if you can in the moment feel it and be like, oh. And I think that's the real thing that connects back to obviously self-awareness, but also your own intuition. You can feel when something's not right or wrong, and all of these things, which is, we could go on about that forever, but I feel like we should move on now. So I guess I would say, what's your first memory of when you gave yourself permission? What happened? Like, what was the shift for you that was like, do you know what? I'm not going to take this narrative anymore. I've been the chameleon. I've let myself be small. I'm ready to take up space now. What happened?
I think for me, I've always had that clear line of sight between independence and financial empowerment. So for me, when I was like 18, I got my first house, got my first mortgage. And I think that for me was a full circle moment of like, now I'm safe. But I'd done it in a way that I was in a relationship with somebody who wasn't the best for me. So then it was like, oh no, new level, new devil. Like it was the next thing. So I think it was probably when I ended that relationship and kind of walked away from it at 25 and thought, actually now I finally get to start living life on my own terms, and I don't care if people don't like me. I mean, I don't know why I thought people wouldn't like me. I'm still a good person, but you just have that guilt and shame, don't you, around you, that there must be something wrong with you. And that's why so many bad things have happened, because fundamentally you're not a good person, and people are going to see that. And I think that was my kind of chip on my shoulder for a lot of my life. It was like I felt like I needed to fight everybody. So it was like, if they don't like me, fuck it, sort of thing. Like, I'll just be on my own because I've always been on my own. And I used to have this sense of like just making it harder than it needed to be. I don't know why I thought life had to carry on being hard. But definitely when like my late 20s started like finding my own voice and not caring about the consequences. As a chronic people pleaser and a child that had been conditioned to be like just whatever you needed me to be in the moment, it was so liberating, I think. But again, clear line of sight between that and financial independence. I didn't need anybody finally for anything. So that felt good.
I love that. But you know what else I'm laughing at is the fact that that's also quite toxic masculine at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I really resonate with that 100%, because I feel like that's the same type of, the bottom line is that the connection that I have is that because no one believed in me, no one thought I was going to do it, I just kept pushing forward. And I was like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer. This is me. I'm going to do this. I'm taking up space. I'm going to be bold. And, like I have a connection to astrology. I always talk about it all the time. And I think because you're a Gemini,
Yes,
you're a mutable star sign, right? So you're constantly ebbing and flowing with everything, And I think with me being a Leo, I'm stubborn. I'm not anymore. I was stubborn. I in that fight or flight sense. I was always in fight mode, and I never actually had to have a physical fight of my own. But I was always dipping in if I had to defend people, or
yeah.
constantly arguing.
Same. And I'm like 5 foot nothing. I was always that scrappy kid that like a girl on a night out would be like, I like injustice for everybody. Like literally I'd fight everybody's corner, like the world and its wife. And I'd be like, because of like say it's self-preservation, like I'll fight before somebody attacks me, like constantly felt like I was fighting the world. And I was like, why do I feel like I need to be doing this anymore? Don't need to.
And isn't it exhausting? Like, I feel like for me that was the IBS thing. It was like I didn't realize the connection of like my adrenal gland had been in fight or flight mode my whole life, and I was at 28 29 at this time, like going through my Saturn return, and I was like, wow, this is exhausting. Like, and living in burnout and all that stuff, it all ties in, doesn't it? But it's really funny you said about the on the night out thing, because literally if anyone gets into a round a night out, my friends literally look for me. They're like, where's Cherise? We need her. We need Cherise to be there. And it's funny because obviously now I've softened so much and I actually don't really go clubbing anymore, so it's not the same, but I feel the difference in me, and my friends have said it as well. They're like, oh gosh, yeah, you do feel different, but I know that equally you'll always have my back. And I'm like, yeah, 100%. I don't need to fight anymore, but if I did, I could, and I think that's a really beautiful space to be in, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we were speaking about this before and we kind of tied into it as well. But I feel like throughout your life, you, like you said, new level, new devil, and you say that often, and I love that saying. And I feel like, is there repeated lessons that keep coming up in your life? You know, like ones that make you think, I need to dive deeper into that, because I noticed it myself, and I just wondered, you know, like for someone that's elevated so far, just wondered
Yeah.
if that was the thing.
I think there'll always be something. So for me, I think money is something that always comes up, and that's why I'm a money mindset coach, right? Because then I'm committing to that work and that lifelong journey of just continually evolving. I think I see myself fall into old habits. I've got a new business venture at the moment, and so straight away I'm like, right, I'm going to bring my brother in, I'm going to bring my sister in, like, and I'm like, why is it not okay for me to just do the thing? And it's like I kind of almost need to like justify having this money, and I need to like help everybody else around me, and I've done that so many times to my detriment. It's like, but I caught myself in the moment this time, and I was like, no, actually my brother's not going to be doing anything, so why am I giving him like an equal share, and all of these things, when actually he could, like, he's not going to be doing anything. So I think money is something that is quite obvious for me, probably emotionally. I'm not yet at that point where I'm like living my dream life with my dream partner. So I think that's definitely an area that needs more work. Um, but yeah, I was saying actually a moment ago before the interview, like I've just booked a trip to LA. Literally woke up this morning, I wasn't going to go, and then I just woke up and I thought, do you know what, I'm writing a book this year, and I was like, I really want to anchor that in as just with the most incredible experiences while I'm doing the process, while I'm doing it. And it's about me really like appreciating the journey. So I was like, I need to create more of these like incredible moments. Why am I not going to LA? Oh, because I've got kids, and because I feel like can't possibly I'll be taking the mick if I didn't take them with me. And it's like I almost had to catch myself in the moment. And then I looked at the flights, and they were like half the price of what I thought they were going to be. And I was like, I think the universe wants me to go. And then I was like, okay, there's got to be a catch. Like maybe I'm missing something. Are there like extra charges? Do I need this? I bet there's no availability. It's like I was almost just waiting for the shoe to drop and for it to suddenly get hard. If I wanted to go, like I'd have to fight for it. And it was almost so easy. I was like waiting for the catch. Like, childcare check, flights check, hotel check. I was like, okay, so now I'm doing the thing. And it was like I really had to like sit with that. Genuinely, I had to sit with that a minute ago before our call, and just be like, I'm okay that life gets better and better. I don't have to fight anymore. It doesn't have to be hard anymore. And that's okay. Like, just kind of let that sink in for a minute, because it was just weird to me. Even when I went last year, it was a nightmare. It was like one thing after another. So yeah, I think that work never ends.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think that's so valuable for people listening to hear, because obviously, you know, you're a seven-figure business owner. And I think the fact that money still comes up for you,
Yeah.
having opportunities still comes up for you. And that key part there, that it can be easy. That's been something that like I've fought against my whole life. I never went for the easy option. I always felt like also the hard option was always the only option I had.
Yeah.
But I felt like if there was ever an easy way, I thought exactly the same. There must be a catch, or this can't be right. Are they having me on? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like the work that I've done on myself, and even just the last few weeks, I think I've spoken to you about, you know, and I said this the other day in our one-to-one, that like every elevation brings another manifestation. So I feel like because you've overcome again, like maybe another little block there, this trip now it has become easier because you deserve it and you should be there. And I think we can't ignore the synchronicities. Like when the universe is giving you these things, it's like, why would you not do that? And you know, the why is there. You know, you're writing the book, it makes sense for you to go to LA, you know, like, and have these beautiful stories to share. And also what I think is more beautiful than anything that I don't even know if you thought about, is the fact that your children get to watch you live your best life and know that's possible for them. And I think that's so incredible, because I feel like a lot of us, if we watched our parents truly, truly enjoy life to the fullest, we would have a deeper feeling for that ourselves, you know that was
Yeah. Oh,
possible.
yeah, that's so true. And obviously, just even from a neuroscience perspective, children, it's like monkey see, monkey do. Children learn by seeing and not hearing, actually. That's
Mm.
how they learn. So if you think about it, like as parents, we're always saying, like, oh, I tell them all the time, they don't listen. It's the same thing. So if I could say to my kids every day, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you can have the best life, whatever you want. But if I'm not living that and I'm not embodying that myself, nothing that I say is going to land, but when they actually see me doing it, then it hits different. Because, and this is the thing, like, people don't realize, people think it's selfish if you have children, to do this deep dive work and to put yourself first, but it is so powerful, because in your child's mind, you are like their North Star. You're like their Jesus, their Beyonce, the center of all things. So if you cannot look at yourself and not in the mirror and not pull yourself apart, and they're like, but she's perfection to me, if she can't do it, then what hope do I have? It actually affects their self-esteem. And that to me was mind-blowing. When I learned that, I was like, actually, because I'd gone into full on, when I became a parent, I was an absolute martyr. Like, I was that woman. And it actually caused my first relationship to break down, because I went back to work when she was 6 weeks. I definitely had postnatal depression. I definitely had some, because I'd had like 10 years of infertility before I could even have her. And then sadly, I was in a contract role, couldn't take any time off with her. And it caused this like real separation anxiety and everything else. And I went into complete martyr mode. I would literally watch her sleep. I'd have the baby monitor next to me. And it was like, every minute that I am out of this house, like, I've got to make up for that. So her dad, who's still wanting to go out on the weekends and still do date nights, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, he had the right idea. Like, what the hell was I thinking? But at the time I was like, how could you possibly want to breathe without her? And he was like, I just wanted to go to football. I was like, you're so selfish. Like, if we don't mean anything to you. And it's like, it's so interesting to me now, because like I say, I've always fallen into that martyr mode, having had a mum, you know, and no dad, and no really parental. I always remember saying like, oh, when I'm a mum, like, my whole life's going to be about my kids. And I thought that was the right thing. And then obviously when I learned this information about how actually your kids learn by observing and by seeing, I was like, wow, I really need to go out and do the damn thing, because that's going to inspire them more than me telling them every day that they're amazing. So that was like a real game change for me.
Yeah, I love that so much. And that really ties into, I guess, my work as well, because it's all the embodiment, isn't it, of what
Yeah.
we're saying, you know, like, you know, I always talk about the fact that like my stuff isn't surface level. It's like, you have to be it. You have to be the example of like loving yourself fully. You have to, you know, feel it, every part of your being, that you're worthy enough of the things that you want. And it's so true, because I mean, I don't have kids of my own yet, but my niece, she is so funny. Like, she's 5 years old, and she literally comes into my house, and she's like, this is your bag, isn't it? You bought yourself that bag. And then
Yeah.
she's got her own little handbag, right? And she goes, look at me. She flicks her shoulder, look at me. I'm like, Auntie Reese, I've got lots of money in this bag. I'm rich and I'm really popular. And I crease up. I'm literally dead. I'm like, what? Where did you even get that from? I haven't told her that. Do you know what I mean? I have not said to
Yeah.
her, oh, I'm rich and I'm really popular. So I don't know where she's got that from. But it must be the fact that obviously when she sees me, I'm working, or
Yeah.
I'm doing some sort of work, or I'm in and out. And I'm really present with her, obviously, when she's around. But equally, if they've come around and I'm not planning to see them, obviously, then I'm busy. And then obviously I'm doing the stuff with people all the time. I'm enjoying my life. So it's really nice that she has that as well, to be able to see that, because I think, as we said, you know, it's being the embodiment of what it is. And I also feel like it is that, you know, I feel like I almost am that little bit of a North Star to her, which is really sweet, you know, like the fact that she said, I'm like you. Like, I was like, oh, that's so cute. Even in the lockdown, I was doing like weights in my room, and she'd come in and she'd try and lift the weights up, and she'd be like, we got to do exercise to be healthy. I was like, yeah, like,
Oh,
that's cute.
oh,
That's the
that's,
beauty of children though, isn't it? And I think, yeah, obviously I'm not there yet, but I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be incredible to be able to share that with, and you know, we say kids are the greatest teachers, aren't they? And I've taught obviously for a long time, but yeah, it's so different when it's your life and all of these things, which is, yeah, just really beautiful, I think, to share with people, and especially for mums that feel like they've maybe taken a back seat in their life at the moment, where
oh,
maybe,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've got a career that or even not a career, like a passion that they love doing, like baking or pottery or things like that they've put on a back burner because their kids are their priority. It's like, why can't you do both? Why
Yeah.
can't you have it all? And I think that's the, you know, like for you, taking your words, it's like all the things, you can do all the things, there's no rules. I think, you know,
Yeah.
society makes us believe it's not possible, or patriarchal beliefs that women should just be at home and in the background, you know, like all of that for me is like dismantling. Like I would just pull that all apart and be like, no,
Yeah.
what is it you want for yourself? Because again, when you are filling your cup up the fullest, you can overflow onto all areas of your life, and everyone's going to benefit, aren't they? Everyone wins.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not even just the kids, it's your family around you. Like I say, like my siblings look at me, and that even now I'm starting to like shape the foundations of their belief systems as to what's possible. But I think the thing is, like, as a parent, you're fighting against a lot of societal conditioning around like what the role of a mother is, like children's, girls versus boys. Like even my daughter, like even with me as a parent, she's still like, I want to be a cheerleader and I want to like boys play football. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm offended at a soul level. Like, what are you watching? And it's like, but this is school and this is everything else. So even more reason for us as parents or those light workers, whoever that is, like somebody's watching you at all times. And I think it's like being that leader that you know you're intended to be, and just kind of holding that, you know, up to, and that's the thing, my kids keep me pushing forwards, and equally my clients. So I was just I can't remember if I mentioned it to you earlier, but oh no, a different client, sorry, Abby. I was saying, she was like, God, you're such an inspiration. I was like, but so are you guys. Like, you know, with the work that we're doing, you're all getting out of your comfort zone, you're all starting to own your story, you're all starting to know that you're worthy and deserving of more. That just continually keeps me accountable as a coach to my next level and my next level of growth, and ensuring that I'm continually moving forwards, because my kids are watching, because my clients are watching, and because the world needs me to be that next level version. So that feels really good, and I love all the work that you do around like all of that deep dive stuff as well.
Oh, thank you. No, and I think it is beautiful, and I feel the same. You know, like everyone around me, we're constantly inspired, and everyone has all these beautiful gifts that we can all benefit from. I think everyone's your teacher, aren't they? You know, like there's,
Yeah.
and I always say it's like another lesson or another blessing. Do you know what I mean? Like we're either learning or we're benefiting in some sort of a way, and that's mutual. And I think, yeah, for me, I feel like with my journey, I think I did all the work. And I healed the most I could, you know, before I stepped into this business venture. And I was like, that's when I was at the point where I was like, how can I make this into a business now? So it was like almost like I'd done that deep dive in myself, and I'd came out like I've like risen in this way. And that now I'm like, right, how do I use this in a business format? And that's why it was so great to meet you, because I have no idea about business. So much has come of it. And again, that's us exchanging our gifts, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
you know, we're able to exchange something there, which is just so beautiful. But I know that obviously for you, like one of your tools that you use to obviously dismantle, reprogram your subconscious mind, which is all things I talk about all the time, and the reason why I've been able to heal myself, is that you use hypnotherapy. And I'd just like you to explain the importance of it and like the benefit of it. And yeah, I mean, obviously you've got lots of free resources on your website as well, so people can check that out as well after. But yeah, please explain.
So essentially, I mean, I'm obsessed with it. I think what I'd realized very early on when I started my personal development journey, it was very much like reading audiobooks and inspirational podcasts and things on YouTube, which is fantastic. They are great at just continually re-embedding and reprogramming your mindset for success. But the way that you really create lasting change is by essentially speaking to the unconscious part of your brain, which is where your beliefs are stored. You can do that through hypnosis. So it's essentially getting you into the most relaxed, susceptible state. And then obviously, you know, implanting positive suggestions, and it can give you really valuable feedback. Because I think a lot of people, we're trying to do the work at a very conscious level. It's the same with diets. It's the same with any of our goals. It's like pushing water up a hill. When you're doing that, you really need to get your whole belief system, your very core behind what it is that you want to create. When you have, you know, a conscious desire that I want to make more money, I want to hit 10K months, I want to do these things, but you've got an unconscious belief, i.e. you're not even aware of it, but it's something that's rooted in your belief system, which is created in early childhood, that actually making money would make you a bad person, you know, rich people are greedy, or any of these things, or that you're not worthy or you're not good enough. You're always going to have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. It's like having, I always refer to it as like the shitty committee, but it's like having like all of the pettiest bitches around you, like essentially pulling you back every time. You could be trying to do like all of the things and, you know, doing your steps and drinking your water, but that will only be able to keep you going for so long if you've got a belief system that essentially undermines all of those very good intentions. And that's typically where people fall down. I think And one thing that I love about your business, same with mine, it's kept me accountable. It's kept me practicing every day the things that I tell my clients to do, because I have to. I've got to be that leader. If I hadn't done that, and I hadn't continued and focused on the little tiny things every day, then I think it's very easy to slip back into old patterns and behaviors. We all want this massive transformation, and that's amazing, but that can be really overwhelming and intimidating when it's like, oh my God, do I need to leave my job? Like, get rid of my partner? Do I need to like sell my house? Like, oh, and that stops people from even like moving forwards. But actually, it's the little tiny things that you do every day that will compound over time and create those big, like, quantum leaps, transformations, and everything that everybody wants. But that's why working with the unconscious brain is so powerful, because it stops that, like, yourself essentially undermining yourself all the time. Like, don't go to the gym. It's like, it's the weather's rubbish, like no one's going to be there, like da, 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 da. It's all of that, so it has to be done at that level.
I love that so much. And it's so true, because I think without realizing that's what I've kind of been doing. And I think for me, same sort of situation. I feel like, in order for us to receive the things that we actually do want, we have to remove the block. So
Yeah.
I guess in a way, like, my journey through that was, I was trying to do the manifestation thing. I was trying to receive things, and I was getting the odd thing here and there, but obviously I didn't realize I had a lifetime of blocks that were in the way. So the manifestations had to weave in and out through all of the obstacles. Whereas I feel like since I've been working with you as well, this year, I just came in and I was like, you know what? You want something you never had, you've got to do something you never done. I've gone full in manifestation mode. And I think it's because I had like a really turbulent end of last year. Like, I felt like it was all the eclipse seasons and all of that. And as everyone knows, I'm really into astrology, but it really affects me and I'm aware of it, And I felt like I went through another dark night of the soul. And that, for me, I felt like was the purging of the very last bits from my childhood that have held me back. So I feel like in the last few weeks, I've cleared all of those blocks. So now, out of nowhere, all of my manifestations are coming in randomly, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But it's because we know it's worth it. And it is that, reprogramming the subconscious mind. It is definitely that deep rooted thing. Again, it's not a surface level, it's really under there. And I've listened to your hypnosis and I love them. I think they're amazing. And what's great about it is you can listen to it as you fall asleep. Like, it's all of those lovely things where you don't even have to think about it. And for me, like, I started, a couple of years ago doing the affirmations. And if you're just saying them for the sake of it, it doesn't have any like traction, right? But if you feel it, if you feel that thing, that's when it starts to work. And I actually remember, going through this really difficult time, really in the thick of it. And then as I started to start to see the light again, I was waking up in the night saying my affirmations, and I was like, that's when my subconscious mind started to keep up.
Yeah, it's trying to help you.
Yeah, 100% that. And I think, what I would say to anyone that's going for a really hard time at the moment is that the universe always wants you to win.
Yeah.
Always
Absolutely.
wants you to win. And I think that sometimes it has to be hard because you need to learn something in the process. There's something you need to learn. And when I look back on my life, and probably you look back on yours, we can see that we had to go through that thing in order to do the work that we're doing now. Like, for me personally, I would never have been able to do this work if I hadn't had that journey. So
well, you wouldn't have that why, would you? And I do believe in soul's contracts, where it's like, this was our journey and we were meant to go on it. Absolutely. But just one thing I wanted to quickly touch on though with hypnosis was that you're actually in a hypnotic trance state probably 90% of your day. And so even hypnosis is just being in that trance state and receiving that message with intention. So if anything that you do right now that means that you lose time, so if it's scrolling on your phone, even when we're driving, because a lot of people think like, oh, I need to work with a hypnotherapist one-to-one, or I need to like be really disciplined and do like the sleep meditations every night. And that is amazing. When you set that intention and do that work, that's where you take it up the next level. But it's also about being wary of what you're continually programming yourself with throughout the day. So if you're scrolling on social media and all of these accounts are like, ugh, making you feel bad, like, oh, they're on a yacht and I'm not, or like they're obviously skinnier, better, prettier, da da da, and you're scrolling while you're in a trance state, that is actually reprogramming your subconscious brain. Like, genuinely, it's the same process. It's speaking to your mind when you're at a highly susceptible state, and your brain waves are in like a different pattern. So you have to be so mindful, it's like, of what you're putting into your body and in your mind every day. So even if the people that are listening to this, do one thing today. Like, it is literally, you know, if you're driving in the car, put something uplifting, something that really raises your vibration, something. Don't listen to the news, you know, don't use that time to be like casually listening to how awful the world is. Unfollow all the accounts that make you feel like crap. um you know, school run, I always say, is like my power hour. My school run's actually about 3 hours a day. It's crazy because I've got 5 kids, single parent, like they're all over the place. And it's like a whole big thing. But when I just used to have one at school and it was like 7 minutes there and 7 minutes back, I used to use that time to listen to like positive YouTube videos and things, because that's the time otherwise where you would just be, you know, what else would you be doing? Like, not very much. So it's about using those small pockets to actually reprogram your mind for success.
Absolutely. And I actually, it's really funny because I say this all the time, like, we are what we consume. So you're not just your food and drink, you are everything. And it's so funny because I literally said that to my friend the other day. I saw her and like she was in this place where she was so busy with life and like it was getting on top of her and she was looking for freedom, but she couldn't find a way out. And I said to her, when do you have time on your own? And I was like, you know, when you drive your child to school, are you on your own there? I was like, listen then to these things. I was like, I will send you links to things that I have. I was like, all you need to do is type in, you know, positive mindset on YouTube or something like that, and it will come up with all these beautiful things. And, you know, even my sister, she listens to things like that as well, because I've been such a advocate of that for so long. I think, I stopped watching the news. I don't think I've ever really watched the news, to be honest. And I think definitely in 2020, I was like, not watching that anymore. Forget that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You probably realize how much of an energetic drain it was having on you. But
Yeah.
it's turning those pockets, like you say, and turning the negatives, the annoyances in your day, and turning it into a positive. So like my kids, obviously I have to take them to their dads like every other weekend. It's like an hour journey each way. That could be something that's like, drain, like don't want to do it, so annoying. So instead, like I listen to like all of the videos and trainings and things like that, audiobooks. So I actually look forward to the journey now. Like, I get excited, I get my coffee, like I've got my sunglasses on, I've got my new car. So I'm like literally just listening, like living my best life. And I think when you can find joy like that and continually be pouring into yourself in the everyday, not waiting until the kids are older or until you've got more time or until you've got money to like invest in like yoga classes and the things, it's realizing actually it's those small little things that you do every day. Even just reframing one thing that could actually be super annoying and negative, reframing that into a positive and making it something that's now working for you and your mindset and your mental well-being rather than the other way around. That is powerful.
I completely agree with you. And I used to have long commutes to some of the dance schools I used to work at, before I obviously started to go into this fully. And that was the same for me. I know that I'd look forward to listening to that episode. And I've always loved driving, to be honest. I think because I always wanted to drive. And I think in my life, I've always searched for freedom. So driving was a massive part of that. And I've always had to do really long journeys. But I've always loved driving, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously not a fan of traffic, but it's you take what you can get. And actually sometimes in the moments of traffic are the moments you can hear properly what they're saying. So I'm like, Joe, it's a win anyway.
I love it.
Yeah. But what I would say is like, if you're not at a point where you can find positives in things, it's finding stillness as well. You know, like if that feels easier for people, like I always say, like midway throughout my day, if I'm working from home, I will make myself a really nice coffee because I've got a coffee machine, and I'll just sit still and I'll just really enjoy that coffee and I'll sit with it, and I'll, you know, sometimes I speak intentions into it, which is woo woo for people. I'm aware of that, but I just sit with it and I have a moment and I reflect maybe on my day, and I just think of all what the things I do want, and I just have that moment for myself. And even if it's 5 minutes, it's just something to reset myself. I think all of us can find just a pocket of stillness, even if it's 1 minute in the morning, just to open the window and just get that fresh air into your lungs before you start your day. You know, whatever it is, it's finding those little small moments, like you said, because I think that's so important, isn't it? We're on autopilot all the time. So I think
100%.
finding intentional moments.
Absolutely. So I've got clients that are like mums, and they're like, oh, I haven't done my morning routine this morning. And I'm like, I don't have a morning routine. Actually, I'm somebody that teaches high performance and like mental well-being and all the things. And actually, I might have a loose resemblance of a morning routine in that I start every day with intention and I end every night with gratitude. But I don't have time to sit and meditate and do yoga and journal every day. Some days I do and I love it. And I'm like, I feel really bougie while I'm doing it. And I'm like, yeah, look at me journaling, like I'm such a pro in the morning. But instead, it's about building that resilience as you move through the day that I think is more powerful. And it is those micro moments, like while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, rather than just sitting there like, oh, I'm just waiting for the kettle to boil. It's doing it with intention. I'm taking this 5 minutes while the kettle's boiling to just like reconnect with my heart space and be with myself. Because if you are the kind of women that always say, like, I'm so busy, I've never got any time, that is because it's almost like we're running from ourselves. And I've been that person where it's like, because being busy validates me. Being busy and always in hustle mode and always working makes me feel needed. It makes me feel important. It makes me feel relevant. It means that I'm worthy of what I've achieved. It means I'm deserving. And the hardest thing for me, by far, 100%, as you've just said, was when I was COVID, when I was forced. I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have anybody that needed me. I didn't have anything that kind of validated me in any way. Being with myself was the hardest bloody thing. I was like, wow, this is interesting. My whole life, I've been in a constant like literally worked 3 jobs right up until I was 6 months pregnant with my first daughter. And that has been my life since I was 15. Because like I say, that hustle, that grind, that was all I knew. And I only knew things to be hard. So if you can master that art of being by yourself, I think that's the true measure of success. I think that's when, yeah, I really do think it is. And I think that's the recipe for happiness. I think when we're constantly chasing things outside of ourselves, like our neck, and particularly in business, it's easy to be like, I want 10K months, now I want 20K months, now I want 30. It's like, actually, now I just want peace. I want to be happy. I just want my kids to be good. I'm good. That means success to me now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. And like, you know, again, another similarity for us, like I worked since I was 15. I've done all the jobs. And the reason, like I was working 3 or 4 jobs a day, again, for that reason. So I didn't have one, so I didn't have to feel. But 2, because yeah, it gave me validation. It made me feel worthy. It made me feel like the person. And I say it to my friends now, you know, a lot of them that are still in this space of like anxiety or feeling or whatever, I'm like, you need to be still enough to be able to feel. But no one wants to purge. But I tell you what, that purge, boom, on the other side of it, like you said, the peace is so worth it. And I think, like you said, the goal should always be happiness, because I think from the state of happiness and true peace and true joy, that's where all the other stuff comes in, right? You know, if you're making money just for the sake of making money, I feel like well, I guess there's no soul connection there, is there? And then maybe that's the reason why money does ebb and flow for some people, like in drastic ways, because they're not in that frequency of being in that vibration of receiving and knowing they feel worthy enough for it. I don't know. I mean, I've not got.
But happiness isn't sexy. That's the thing. Like, we are not conditioned to be like, even if you think from a young age at school, it's about what grade you get. And this for me has been like a real, like, I'm on a bit of a journey with my own children, because putting them into the education system, they are 5 wildly different characters, like different skill sets, different personality types, like just completely wildly different. And yet they're all going through exactly the same curriculum, exactly the same topics, exactly the same thing. And there's no flexibility for that. So that's kind of interesting to me. But it's like, even at a young age, it's always about the metrics, about the benchmarks, the labels, the external validation. Like, happiness, that's not Instagrammable. You know,
Absolutely.
so it's trying to fight against that, everything that you've been told your whole life about what success is, and actually instead find out what it means for you. I think it's truly empowering.
Yeah, do you know what, that is gold dust, what you just said then. And I think that is the work we do, isn't it? In that, you know, it's what does happiness mean to you? I think that's the biggest question. And actually, I feel like we should challenge everyone to think about that today, because, you know, it's really funny about the school system, because that's something that comes up for me so much, obviously doing a lot of teaching in the schools and like the dance and the empowerment workshops and all of this. I even am mind blown when the kids all line up by their initials and their names and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, we're really programmed to be one of many. We're not celebrated for our uniqueness. And I felt that at school. I felt like I always say that I was labeled like not bright and all these things, because it was like judging a fish to climb a tree. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not meant to climb a tree. I'm meant to swim. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's these things that. And that's why it was so crazy for me, like when I did my and education works for you, so how you make it work. Like when I did my master's, it was because I wanted to learn how dance affected mental health and all this stuff, and then that's how I ended up doing the journey on myself and like finding out
exactly the same. I did my master's a degree as a mature student when I was like 25, paid for it myself, and it was something that I was really interested in, psychology, and like resource management. So I was like I was in there like swimwear, but I was not a good student at school because I just couldn't find my way. I wasn't good at anything, so I wasn't able to I was like kind of average at, and I'm a manifesting generator, so I think that is like a personality trait, in that you are a jack of all trades, because you can kind of do a little bit of everything and really turn your hand to anything, but your interest isn't there long enough to commit to mastery in everything. So that, I think that's where, yeah, it kind of failed me too. But absolutely, I agree with everything you've said. Like, genuinely looking at the way that the kids are, it's like, how can they possibly be like graded in the same way? I actually had the feedback from my daughter's parents' evening, Brooke, that her only feedback in area of development was to care less. She cares too much about her work, apparently, and they were like, she really just needs to like work on that, you know, her resilience, that she shouldn't want to try so hard to do well. She takes too long writing things because she wants to make her handwriting nice, and and I'm like, so we're her area for development is to be more average. I'm like, I literally said that to the teacher. I was like, really? They were like, I was like, okay, Brooke, you need to care less. That's your area for development right now. I was like, I absolutely do not endorse this behavior. Like,
you know what,
the hell?
that would invigorate me. Like, honestly, if I was in my toxic masculine state, I'd be fuming right now, but I'm not. So I feel like I'm affected by it, but I'm annoyed because I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like,
they won't even let her write in pen because they've got to give her a pen license, and she hasn't earned it. She hasn't earned her pen license. Her handwriting is so beautiful, and they're like, well, we're kind of using it as a bit of a carrot to get her through the rest of the year. Like, this is the end goal. You can write with a fucking pen. I'm like, you joking?
Wow, that's like, manipulation. What's going on? If any teachers are listening, come on, sort it out. I've got a few head teachers I'm going to send this to. What are we doing, guys? Come on.
Yeah, and I understand like the good intention. That's the thing, like the good intention to make her a good citizen, to make her be conscientious, to like slow her down, and you know, all of these great things. But it's just when you think about it at a bigger view, it's like, wow, this really starts early, that conditioning to be average.
That's what it is. It's the conditioning. That's the thing, and that's all the work that we're doing now to reprogram the subconscious mind, isn't it?
Yeah,
but that's
like
been
unlearning.
Absolutely, and that's all the work, right? That's literally what we speak about all the time. It's like, how do we unlearn these things? That's been so amazing, obviously, to dive into this with you, and for people to see, I guess, the reason why you're doing what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And why money mindset's important to you, and why helping women is important to you, and all these things. And as we said, you know, we're constantly learning, we're constantly going through it. You know, every level, different devil. Yeah. But again, with that is like every elevation brings another manifestation. So once you clear that devil, you've got the space to thrive and have a more bigger threshold for the things that you want, which is amazing. But can you give us some top tips?
Oh, I think for me, it's understanding that your past doesn't define your future. Absolutely not. I think a lot of us get stuck in a mode where we feel like my cards were dealt, that's it, that's just how it's meant to be. At any point you can change even aspects of your personality. That's neuroscience. But also, you know, just for your own self, you can change whatever you want that isn't working for you right now. I think it's about getting, like you said, it's about falling in love with the journey and not the end destination, and committing to, you know, mastery in terms of like of the everyday, you know, the everyday little things, embracing the compound effect. So everyday little things that you do, like I'm drinking more water. That's not sexy. That's not going to get me 20k months, but it's like, but it's going to make me feel better, and it's better for my health. So I'm going to do that rather than sit here and eat like 20 packets of crisps. I think it's giving yourself credit along the way, even just wanting to do the work, even just listening to this podcast and being open to the possibility that you might be meant for more. I think is if there's that little flame in you, you have to take it and run with it. But yeah, I think it is just like, enjoy the journey, like understand we will never be finished, and that's the beauty of it. Like we're meant to be here and grow and expand and have the full range of human emotions and experience while we're here. So just kind of, you know, make sure it's on your terms and not somebody else's.
Absolutely, I love that so much. And I feel like I always say, you know, if there was an end goal and like it was easy to obtain, life would be really short and we'd only live till we're 30. You know what I mean? So the reason we have such long lifespans is because there's so much we need to do in that time. And just be grateful for every process. I love that so much. So I've got something that I say now is like soul to soul. So like, is there something in your soul, like a channeled message or something that feels like really good that maybe someone's told you, or maybe that you want to share that feels like it's come to you now about, you know, anything?
I think for me, that because of the trauma, and I'm thinking if there's people that have kind of been drawn to your energy because of the trauma stuff, I think the biggest life lesson for me was forgiveness is an act of self-love. And that has brought me so much peace in life. Like I say, because I had that mindset where it was like, I just want to fight everybody. I'm, you know, all the injustice and everything else. It's like, I realized that the only person that was punishing was me. The people that have done me wrong in life, they don't care about me. They're not thinking about me anytime soon. So, and actually by me still being triggered and upset by past experiences and things is actually still continuing to give my power over to those people.
Yeah.
And some of them have actually passed on. So I'm like, they're literally not thinking about me, I'm sure. So I think that for me was the biggest turning point. It was like, actually, I can have forgiveness towards somebody else and what happened and not condone their behavior, not say that it was okay, not say that it was right, but do it from a place of, you now no longer have anything over me. Like, I'm done, and energetically I'm ready to move on and take back the power that you took from me. I think that was really such an integral part of my journey, because every part of my being did not want to. From a place of ego, I was like, no, they're not getting forgiveness from me, like they've taken enough, da, 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 da. But I was like, actually, it's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. I'm only hurting myself by keeping hold of this stuff. And there's nothing more liberating, particularly if you've ever, because obviously I had some, you know, narcissistic, abusive adult relationships as well. There is nothing more liberating than literally having no more fucks to give for that person, where it's like, I can't even see you, you can't touch me, nothing about you triggers me anymore. I have no neutral, like just neutral energy. That is the worst thing to a narcissist. So that was quite liberating, just getting to that point in life where it's like, everything's on my own terms.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it's so important. And I feel like, you know, it's something I've done as well in my time. But when you forgive, you let go, don't you, of the attachment, and then you get free up the space to have whatever you want in that space. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Rebecca. I'd love you to share all the things that you're doing right now. So, you know, where people can find you. Obviously, I'll put all the links in, but just give us a quick run through of all your things, because you've got all of them.
all the things
that are important, that people can find you and hire you and all these things.
Well, I think if you're a business owner, absolutely, like the power of working with a female coach who gets it, I think is really, really good. So absolutely come and find me. I've got my business mastermind that Sharice is part of, which would be amazing, because community is so important for me as well as a business owner, that will stop trying to do all the things and doing it alone. I've got a spiritual academy that I'm just launching at the moment as well. But and then equally the book at the end of the year. After my bougie trip to LA, I'm so excited about that's going to take up like half the book and then the rest will be in my house in Kingston. Not quite the same. But yeah, I think it's just continuing to like surround yourself with incredible people, follow the people that you feel aligned to. If it's not me, it will be somebody else. Like, so, you know, I'm all about, as a collective, like we just do the work with whoever you feel aligned to work with. It's fine.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for sharing your story and being my first guest. And I hope that it resonated with whoever's listening. And I'll pop all your links obviously in the details of the show notes and everything like that. But it's a really lovely chance, I think, for people to see just like that deeper part of you, and also I think for us to like bounce off and like show how, you know, the universe works in amazing ways. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Permission to Shine with Sharice Bisram, self-love and empowerment mentor and facilitator. To work with me, head to my website or my social media platforms. I offer sessions such as workshops in schools and workplaces. I deliver talks, and I also have programs available, and I'm available for one-to-one sessions on a 6-month, 3-month and 6-week basis. My work is all about taking you through the journey of self-discovery all the way to true, authentic confidence and empowerment, unlearning and dismantling all of your limiting beliefs, getting to the root of who you are inside and building you up on a foundation of self-worth, self-acceptance, self-awareness and deep self-love. You are the only you there is, and that is your superpower.